everyone, I'm Sam.
And I'm Kaitlyn.
And this is Team Get Ovary It.
We're an all-female team participating in the greatest motoring adventure on the planet,
the Mongol Rally.
We'll be driving 10,000 miles across mountains, deserts, and unknown terrain.
And along the way, we hope to spread our feminist and environmental ideals.
Join us here as we share our stories, thoughts, and interviews as we get ready for the Mongol Rally 2021.
Hey everyone!
Hello! Welcome back!
We are super excited for our episode today because we have two of our favorite human beings sitting here with us today, Raena and Alex.
Hello! Oh, that was so nice. I love that intro.
Yeah, it's very nice. And then so today we're going to be talking about travel and more specifically female travel. So we'll be asking Raena and Alex some questions about their experiences traveling these past few years. And hopefully we have some really insightful conversations about what it means to travel as a woman. So without further ado, let's get right to it.
Perfect. Yeah, so for anyone listening that doesn't know, Kaitlyn and I met Raena and Alex in Korea. I think it was 3 years ago, maybe?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, so we've traveled together, we've drunk together, we've hiked together, so we're really excited to have them here on the podcast with us today.
So excited. So I guess to start out, so can you guys introduce yourselves to our listeners? Can you tell everyone who you are and where you've traveled before, just in brief?
Sure. My name's Alex. I'm from Maine originally, so Northeast US. I've been in Korea for, let's see, in February it'll be 3 years, and I'm planning on staying for another 6 months, so it'll be about 3.5 years total. Before moving to Korea, I actually hadn't traveled that much. I was born overseas, so I was born in Botswana, so I've traveled there quite a few times. But aside from that, I had been to like Canada, Mexico, and Italy, and I think that was it before moving to Korea. But since being in Korea, let's see, I've been to Japan, the Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand, and briefly I was in Beijing to see the Great Wall. But yeah, that's me.
Hi, I'm Raena. I'm from Arizona, sunny AZ. I've been in Korea 1 year longer than Alex. So yeah, I got here 4 years ago. Woof. That's, oh my God, that ages you. That statement aged me.
Wow.
I've been here 4 years in February, and I'll be here just as long until July, so 4.5 years. And I mean, again, back to Alex's as well. I didn't travel as much before Korea. Like I studied abroad, so I was in Australia, which was cool. But I always wish that I had gone somewhere more, like academic, like Spain to study Spanish, Egypt to do, because I was the anthropology major, Egypt to do, I don't know, like some excavational archaeological dig, even Italy, man. But I went to Australia and studied the art of getting wasted. So,
I mean, that's
yes,
good prep for Korea.
yes,
so.
yes, it did. It prepped me with
honestly.
a lot of. But no, that was great. And yeah, I mean, I went to Canada, went to Mexico, growing up, and then being in Korea. Also went to Japan, Vietnam, Thailand. Went to Guam, highly recommend. And where else did I go? Oh, I went to Malaysia, highly recommend. Philippines, and all over Korea. But I feel like if you haven't been all over Korea as an expat living here, would you agree with me? You're doing it wrong.
Yeah, it's
so accessible. It's so accessible. You can go literally to the other end of the country in like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's true though. There are some, especially expats who are living in Seoul, and we all live in Seoul, but it's like everything that you need is in Seoul. So I think I've met a couple of people who they just stay in Seoul their whole time that they're here, and they never see the rest of the country.
Dude, I've met a few people because in Gimpo, which is like the burbs of Seoul, I've met a few people that didn't even leave Gimpo, and I'm like, what? You've never been to Seoul?
What?
woof.
I
Like,
feel bad for people who came in this year.
yeah, man,
I
me
have two
too.
coworkers who got here like in COVID times, and like we really can't do much. I'm like, Korea's so cool when you like are actually able to travel, but right now it's like, I mean, we've all been
Yeah.
here for years, so it's kind of like been there, done that. But I do feel bad for them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, I think I haven't really done any trips at all. I went to this year with COVID, I went to Yangyang and I did some surfing in the summer. And then like I went to Sukcho, and I went camping like earlier in the year, but I haven't done anything like I didn't do anything in the fall or late summer. And then this summer also sucked because it was raining
Yeah,
all the time.
dude,
So
really. Truly.
yeah.
I feel like also too, like during a normal year, like you're not just like doing solo travel. Like I feel like Korea really got like hit the nail on the head with like the group traveling, like organized tours
Mm,
of the country.
Hmm.
And so I feel like, yeah, at least I think every year I did at least maybe 4 trips that was organized through like a travel group, which like it was like a hiking
mhm.
trip, 2 snowboarding trips, and a camping trip, and that was like, and then I did like an added however many, but at least I did those. So now without those this year, it's kind
Yeah.
of like I have no purpose.
Yeah.
All we can do now is just talk about the traveling that we wish
Yeah.
we were
I
doing.
know, seriously.
Yeah, seriously.
But I feel like this is such a
Yeah, you're right.
well-traveled group of women, which is like really
Mm.
exciting. I feel like I love talking about traveling with people who have traveled and done like really good traveling, you know?
Mm.
Mm.
Well, what was it that got you guys into travel? Was there a particular catalyst or something growing up where you were like, I want to travel because of this?
So I said before, like I was born overseas, and that's because my parents were traveling and teaching. They lived in Botswana for years. I think that I was like an accident. I don't know if I was supposed to be born there. I also lived there for I think like a little over a year. I think before we came back. But so I grew up with so many stories that they had of not just teaching abroad but living abroad. And this was like in the mid 90s. So like their stories are very different from stories that I have today. But I did go back. I went back twice with my dad after being in the States when I was a baby, and that was really the first time that I was like, whoa. I mean, the world is bigger than like Maine. And so I feel like growing up with those
Mm.
stories definitely was what inspired me to not only teach abroad, but travel as well.
I mean, I grew up in a really small town. So I remember having a moment like in high school. I don't even remember what year I was. Probably like a freshman, like just started. And then I was like, what do I want to do in college? And I remember I asked my mom. I remember the conversation. Mom, what is the study of like just people? Like, can I just do that in college? Can I just like study humans? And she was like, yeah, anthropology. And I was like, ha, you're lying. Like that's not a real thing, as most people say when they hear the word anthropology. And I looked it up, and sure enough, mom was right. Mom strikes again. And I was like, okay, yeah, I want to do this. And I literally remember my entire high school, like being like, this is what I want to study. Of course, I had other like facets of information. I mean, of interests. Like I was like, oh, maybe I could do that. But then when I got to college, I was like, okay, I want to study people and I want to study what they do and how they live and, all that fun stuff. And that just like immediately sparked an interest. Well, I mean, I got to go there. I got to go to the places that I got to see the people. So I was like, okay, I have to study abroad. And then I was like, well, now I gotta, I knew I wasn't going to write a book about anthropology or be a professor of anthropology. So I was like, might as well just do it and like live somewhere else. So yeah, it was just always like, I want to see what else is out there. I think it might have come from a small town mentality or maybe just like an overall curiosity of everything else.
Yeah, it's so funny because I think you said that before. I don't know if we've ever talked about this, or maybe we did when we were really drunk and then
Probably.
forgot. Because I'm an
Yeah,
anthropology major
yes.
too.
I remember this. We definitely have talked about this before.
Okay,
It's like I
Definitely
have
drunk.
no
yeah.
recollection.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I feel like it was definitely over like a few bottles of soju and makgeolli.
Definitely. Oh, probably. Yeah, and I think like yeah, very similar to you. Like I'm from a small town, and then it's just like I want to study people. And my sister, not my mom, but my sister suggested
Cool.
anthropology to me. And I was like, I've never heard of that before. I'm going to do a 4-year
Yeah,
degree in it.
yeah, no, I know. And I I think sometimes I have like a little bit of guilt. Like I wish I would have like found a focus in anthropology because as you know, Kaitlyn, it's so broad. It could be
So
about
broad. It could be
anything
about
and you have like the
anything.
four main, points of anthropology and then all of the
Mhm.
other millions of things in between all of them. So I wish I would have like I wish I would have like chosen a focus, but I just was like, I want to learn it all.
Yeah, it's so hard, and there's so many things out there, and I guess and that's the
Yeah,
reason like
yeah,
why
for
you're out
sure.
here, why I am out here, where we're all out here, see everything. Okay, so the second question then for you guys is, do you have a particular approach to travel? I know you guys mentioned before, like traveling in a good way or like kind of the right way. So,
Ooh,
in
that's a
your
good
opinion, what
question.
is the best way to
I
travel?
feel like the best way to travel, actually, I don't know. I feel like that's like not, it like changes, right? Because for per person, because someone might say like solo travel is the way to go. And I would have said maybe a few years ago, like, hell no, like, why would I want to travel alone? But I have traveled Korea alone a few times,
Hmm.
and it was awesome. Like you have your own
Hmm.
agenda. You don't have to like follow any, other plans. That was cool. But I've traveled with one other person, like one other best friend, and that was also awesome because you don't have this big group. I've traveled with like, our supposed to have been Asia trip. I was with Alex and a few other people, and that was also like awesome. Like so I feel like it
Yeah.
changes and I feel like everyone has a different answer. And my answer, I guess, would be like would be that. Yeah, it changes. It depends. Like I think the best way to travel is it depends on the place, the people. All of it is really cool.
Yeah, I feel like for me, I know that I do prefer being with other people. I just enjoy sharing the experiences with other people. I feel like I am the type of traveler where I will maybe have like two or three things I want to see or I want to do, and I just sort of leave the rest up to, well, once I get there, someone will tell me like what's the best thing to do. So I feel like traveling pretty loosely is my
Hmm.
motto. When Raina and I planned out our Asia trip, I mean, we literally had written down what countries we were going to,
Mind you,
and
that's the first time I've ever traveled in that way. That's the first time that I have ever like bullet pointed, made notes, and then look what happened.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think as long like going into it open mindedly, and I also feel like traveling with people who are of a similar mindset because I have traveled before with people who like it was their first time going out of the country and they were so like high strung and like the whole time, and it was like not enjoyable for anyone. It was just too far out of their comfort zone. So I feel like choosing the right people to travel with is super super
Yeah.
important.
I mean, yeah, because what would have happened if we were like if we got stuck in the Philippines with like someone who's just so, yeah, like high strung, like about traveling, very particular. And don't get me wrong, I feel like everyone could be particular about traveling. I mean, you make these plans, but then like Alex said, yeah, you have to be loosey goosey. You got to be able to go with the flow.
Yeah, it was really interesting because watching you guys like on social media and when you were stuck in the Philippines, I feel like you guys were just making the best of it. And so every day you were out snorkeling or like drinking and like meeting new people. And it seemed like you were, yeah, having a good time. But at the same time, like that was happening, I had another friend who was also stuck in the Philippines and she was freaking out.
Oh
So
man.
We met a lot of people who were like freaking out. It was kind of like, dude, there's nothing you can do about it. Like,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, and also like depending on we got so lucky and Alex is 100% given that like award for picking the place that we would have ended up living for 5 months because she was the one who suggested, yo, let's like go to Mobile. But like Alex is the one that picked that place. And we were like, okay, we'll go there for 5 days. Literally so naive. We'll go for 5 days and then we'll go to Siargao and then we'll travel up to wherever. But we got stuck there and it couldn't have worked out better. So I don't blame, like, yeah, anyone who probably was freaking out the way that they did if they were stuck in the Philippines or anywhere, because what if you were stuck alone in a foreign place? Like, that's wild.
Mm-hmm. True.
Well, we'll get back to this Philippine story because it is a really interesting story and we do want to hear about it and dive deeper into it. Um, but our next question is actually about safety. And so I think it's a question we've all gotten frequently, right? As females that travel frequently, we have friends asking, oh, do you ever feel unsafe when you're traveling? Like, how do you approach that? And so we sort of wanted to discuss that, right? And so our question for you guys is, I guess, how do you approach safety in your travels? Is it something that's sort of at the forefront of your mind when you're making a decision in terms of where to go or what to do? And how big of a consideration is it for you both?
I think this is such an interesting question because I have gotten that so much. Like, even just living in Korea, it's unbelievable the questions that I get from people like, oh my God, you're right next to North Korea. It can't possibly be safe there. Like, so, and I think a lot of the time when people worry about safety traveling, it's coming from a place where they don't understand the country, and it's just coming from a very like superficial level, like, oh, I've heard that place might be unsafe. So I definitely do consider it for sure. And it is one of the reasons that I prefer to travel with other people. I'm not against solo traveling. I've only done it a little bit. I've never like gone on a full trip by myself, but I've done parts of trips by myself. And I do enjoy it. But that is one reason I like to be with other people. I definitely, though, don't base my opinions on safety entirely on just like word of mouth, what people say, because if you did that, you'd never travel anywhere. So I think as long as you approach it from a place of like, I want to travel here, but I'm going to take the necessary precautions, then really anywhere is safe. I mean, how many people have been to every country in the world? Like people do it. So it clearly like it's possible.
Yeah, I agree with Alex in the sense that like people, there's like tropes on different areas of the world, safety tropes and how you have to be, but then, I feel like as a woman, especially, you have to hold yourself to a different level of safety because you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're vulnerable. So I think you do have to like be super cautious where you are because everywhere can be unsafe, even the safest place.
Yeah.
And as a woman, I feel like you have to take into account, okay, what are the vibes? What is my audience? More so than I think maybe a solo man would.
Like you were saying, yeah, it's just kind of like keep your wits about you, do what you have to, think about it, be smart.
If we're talking about like women's safety traveling, I feel like everyone thinks of being followed, being drugged. I have gotten followed in Korea, and that was wild. Like in my own apartment complex. So, yeah, I didn't think that would ever happen to me, let alone happen in Korea.
Yeah, that's fair, I guess. Yeah, I got followed into the store the other day. It was like he wasn't my student, but it was like a student at my school. And it was like the creepiest thing because I noticed him like out of the corner of my eye. I was just going to the store and I was like, that guy's following me. And because he just like beelined it straight for me. So I just kind of ignored him. And then he was, pardon?
Terrifying.
It was a little bit. Well, I wasn't, and honestly, I wasn't scared because I was in like a public place or other people around and stuff, but I was just kind of like, what is this guy doing? And then he was like, oh, I'm a student. And it was still really creepy. And he's like, I'm a student at your school and I see you all the time and I'm always wondering about you. And I'm like, bro.
Oh my gosh.
Yikes.
Boundaries.
Well, okay,
Yes.
honestly, I feel like we shouldn't leave this question without Raena and I talking about this because we actually did get people attempted to mug us when we were in the Philippines.
Oh my God, wait, I forgot about this.
So I'm over here saying like it's safe as long as you're careful. Here's the thing, and I will never, like, I can now see from an outside perspective, how much of a target we looked like, because we were walking in Cebu City. This was when we were trying to get back to Korea. We were trying to go to the Korean consulate to get our visas sorted out, but we had to check out of our hostel where we were staying. We had all of our bags with us. Raena and I are walking. We're very obviously tourists. And we like have our phone out with directions. Mm-hmm. So from an outside perspective, I'm like, of course people tried. Like look at like me with my phone out. Raina's like unzipping her bag, trying to get like something out of her bag, you know. And it was actually a group of kids. There were probably like 10 boys between the ages of like, what would you say, like 8 and 12, Raena?
Yeah, they were young.
But here's the thing is they knew, and I saw it happen. I knew exactly what was going to happen. I realized what was happening, and I was like, Raena, we need to watch out, because I saw one of them, I'm assuming it was a couple families. I saw one of the moms look at one of the boys and say something and like motion to us. And I was like, oh, and I knew what was going to happen. And I was like, Raena, hold on to your stuff. And then they like swarmed us, and they're trying to like pull our bags, and they're like money, like asking us for money at first. But then they're like pulling our bags, and they unzipped Raina's bag, and I had to like reach over and like zip it back up. And we like half walked, half ran with all of these kids around us. And so luckily there was like a bank right up there, and there was a security guard. So we sort of like veered off to the side, and then they sort of all scattered. But then the security guard was like lecturing us. He was like, listen, like you can't be walking with all your stuff out like that. Like, even though this is like, I mean, it's the middle of the day, like you need to be smarter. And I will now I can see how we weren't smart about it. So I feel like that experience has like now in the future helped me to be safer.
So that was one, I guess, objectively bad experience. So what has been your favorite travel experience so far?
I think it's hard because I want to say I think I have two answers. My first answer is our experience in the Philippines, because it was entirely unconventional and unplanned, but it ended up being like the most unique experience I know that I'll ever have. But my favorite conventional travel experience was, let's see, I was 21. So it was right after I graduated college, right before I came to Korea. My dad and I went back to Botswana again and spent 2 weeks, just the two of us. We did like a walking safari for like 5 days. It was like just us and a guide, like out in the middle of the Okavango Delta, like nobody else. We like tracked wild animals. I got to go back to the school where my parents taught. We went on a safari. Like it was just so different from anywhere else I still have ever been. Because the first couple times I went back was just like my dad was still like working at the school, so I didn't really like get to see much, and that was the first time we actually like went out and saw stuff. So I think that has to be my favorite like regular travel experience. But our like extended stay in the Philippines was pretty cool. Yeah.
Hands down, I think, for me.
Yeah, I mean it really was. It was awesome.
I feel like, I was going to say that that's my favorite travel experience, hands down. But I think I should also include like a normal, like quote unquote normal, because that wasn't like, we didn't plan for that. Mm-hmm. So, but that was by far one of the, like, probably the best unorthodox travel experience. I think a normal travel experience that stands out for me is probably, this is a hard question, to be totally fair. Two stand out. One is like in Asia. I went to Guam, and I think that was just so beautiful and cool because I was, seeing someone there, and I was able to like, he was able to take me places that I feel like you wouldn't know about. It's just like a run-of-the-mill tourist going to Guam. That was just like really beautiful. Guam is like, it was just really beautiful. I had never seen beaches like that before. And another one that comes to mind is like a road trip that I did with my mom and my sisters, literally just through Arizona. And we were just like, oh my God, we were so young. Oh my God, look at us, we're road trippers. But we just were in the car for probably like 4 hours. But I was like, road trip. And my mom like like, you know, hyped it up. We're going on a road trip cross country, and we're like, fuck yeah, you know, like. But that like stands out because she made this whole mixtape of like Michael Jackson and the Supremes and like, you know, like Motown, and we were so into it. I think like Tracy Chapman was on the CD, and we're just like, you know, total girls trip, just like stopping at literally the most normal restaurants, normal cafes. But I think because she hyped it up, you know, she was like road trip, and we're like, oh my gosh, unknown territory. And it was so cute.
Okay, so you've both mentioned your time in the Philippines a little bit. And so Kaitlyn and I already know the story, but can you walk through what happened for our listeners and sort of talk about what made the experience so unique and give context to it a little bit?
So Raena and I were going to travel Southeast Asia together. I think I wanted to go to the Philippines. We were going to go to Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam were the main ones. And then we were thinking about maybe adding others. It was going to be about 3 months.
Like 3 to 4 months we had planned on.
Yeah. And so what happened was as the time came for us to leave was when COVID started hitting. And at the time it was really only hitting China and South Korea. And so I mean, to be fair, we were extremely naive. And we were like, well, if we just get out of Korea, like it hasn't really happened anywhere else yet. So we thought, I think in the back of our heads, we both kind of were like, this isn't going to work out the way we want it to. But I mean, we both had been saving money for like years and also just been looking forward to this for so long. We were like, we have to at least try. So yeah. Raena, our other two friends, were also going to travel. So we were like, oh, maybe we'll meet them at some part in the trip. So Raena and one of those friends, his name was Connor, they went to the Philippines like beginning of March. And then Christian and I were going to leave like mid-March. We were all just going to meet in the Philippines. This was already like plan C. My original plan was meeting my dad in Vietnam. We were going to do this big motorbike trek. All flights canceled. Couldn't do that. So this was like plan C at this point. But we were still like, we can make this trip happen. Long story, extremely short. We all managed to meet in the Philippines. And then Connor decided to go back to the States. Christian, Raena, and I decided to go down to Walblog. And then we were put under strict government quarantine. All of our flights were canceled, flights back to America, flights in between. I had like flights booked like in between Thailand and Vietnam, and I was in countries. So yeah, and then we ended up just being there. We lived in a hostel for 2.5 months. We lived in an Airbnb for a little while. And we just kind of got stuck there. I mean, it was the three of us, and then the group changed a little bit, but like the main core group, there were like 8 of us all stuck at this hostel together, and we just spent 3 months in that time. Yeah.
Drinking. Crying and drinking. No, there was a lot of other stuff too, but
nice. So when and if COVID ends and yeah, this nightmare is over, what are your tentative future travel plans?
Okay. I try not to get too excited about it because I really don't want to build it up and then not be able to go. But like Raena and I said, both of our contracts are done end of July. My plan as of right now, I am going to try to at least, I don't even want to say where I'm going to travel because I don't really even know. I'm just going to try to travel before returning to the States.
Nobody knows.
I really want to go to Vietnam and do the motorbike trek my dad and I planned. We were going to go south to north, do the whole coastline. Like that was something I was really, really looking forward to. So I really want to be able to do that. I would love to go back to the Philippines to visit. But that's like immediate future because I don't know if it's going to be able to happen or not. Further than that,
oh God, yeah.
It's I want to go. I literally, honestly, I want to go everywhere. It's like I feel like once you start traveling, you are like, oh, I could go there, I could go there, I could go there. one of my biggest bucket lists.
Mm.
I want to go to India, I want to go to Nepal, and I want to hike the Everest Base Camp. That's like my biggest goal, but I think that's going to be like in a while. That's not like a right now goal. That's like maybe in a few years goal.
I was my immediate travel plans after COVID, after our contract was in line with Alex's, but then because I am gonna end up moving to Europe, um, so I that's like long term, um, but I think I'm gonna go straight home because my mom has COVID, and I think like just when she's home and healthy, I think I'm just immediately just gonna want to be with my family. I think I can always come back to Asia. So, and I definitely plan on doing that. And it makes me sad because I do want to like join Alex, like traveling wherever she goes, just like hopping in her backpack and going with her. And just the idea of like, okay, didn't do it the first time, I can do it now. But I think I'm gonna put like immediate travel plans on hold for a bit. Just go home, and I might travel around the states, go see some friends that I actually have met in Korea that live in other states. So, um, yeah, my immediate travel plans will be quite boring in terms of, worldwide travel. But in the long term, I'll be in Europe. So please come visit, you guys. I won't have any friends.
We will definitely visit you. Don't worry about that.
Yes, I would love that. Please be my friend in Europe.
Well, just sort of to wrap this all up, if you guys were to give a sort of succinct one sentence piece of advice to women that are thinking about traveling, looking at traveling, researching traveling, what would your advice for them be?
Don't overthink it. I think I yelled that. I shouted that. I really must believe that.
No, it's a good one.
Because what Alex said, like, I think it was when you were talking about like an ideal travel partner or just like groups of travel or types of travel, like you can't overthink everything. Like kind of going off textbook is what makes traveling so exciting, right? I mean, like think just like on a whim, like you could have all of these lists of things you want to see and things you want to do, but then when you're there, you might talk to a local, you might talk to another traveler, you might learn about something. You're like, whoa, okay, this sounds way better. And you can't be like, oh, but I already have this planned. You have to just go with the flow. That's what makes, for me, and I think a lot of people can agree, that's what makes travel exciting is like the experience on the spot. And so like if you overthink it, you might not have as rich or fulfilling experience as you might as you could have or truly want. So that's like my biggest thing among so many other, but my biggest thing is don't overthink. I think too many things in that sentence. Someone cut me off. I'm stopping. I'm stopping.
I think mine would be pretty similar. I think mine would just be learn to, yeah, I guess same as Raena, learn to go with the flow. I think it's really important when you're traveling, and you definitely get the best experiences when you don't go in with set expectations.
Yeah. I honestly think that if you're a traveler or not, this year has taught you that at like, just hands down. Don't overthink, go with the flow, let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, and then like you
Yeah.
guys did with the Philippines, make the best of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like we said, definitely was super unconventional, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. I mean, we made fantastic friends. We got to like live in the Philippines. I mean, like we were in a really small town. We knew a lot of the locals. Like it was, we're telling the stories about like almost getting arrested and like the curfews. And, like it was not always pretty. Do not get us wrong, but the pros definitely outweighed the cons, and it was just fun
Yeah.
to be able to.
I mean, there's a reason that it's both of our like top travel experiences. It was like it was so unique.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, I feel like also being in Korea, Caitlin, and then like going back to the States for like you, Sam, I'm sure it was like you probably had those moments of like, oh, damn it. But like loosey goosey, go with the flow. Like Caitlin, you made your situation in Korea end up working out again. So like I feel like that follows that same like, okay, don't overplan, don't overthink it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, it's true. Like, maybe I didn't get to do the things that I wanted to do, but I still would consider myself really lucky. I have a lot of
Yeah.
friends here. I
Mhm.
have a good support group here. I have access to everything I could ever need here. I'm comfortable here. So,
Yeah.
yeah, there's always a silver
Mm.
lining, even if things don't work out.
For sure.
That's very true. So,
Yeah.
thank you guys so much for coming on and talking with us this morning. I know, like, it's a little early for a Sunday morning. But I really appreciate it, and I enjoyed listening to all of your stories because a lot of it is stuff like I've been following you on Instagram and, like, on Facebook, and I've seen, like, a bits and pieces, but I didn't know everything, so it was really enlightening and very entertaining to hear about.
I love to talk, so this was great for me. I love to I love talking about this experience. It's like you'll have me on here for an hour and a half, just straight.
Well, we loved listening.
Uh,
Well, awesome. Thank you. We hope that everybody listening enjoyed these stories and the questions and the answers just as much as we did. And we will catch you next time.
Yep, see you then.
Thanks for having us.
bye. Is that what one says? See you next time. I will be here, maybe. I don't know.
Never get invited back.
I mean, like, not on the podcast. Again, cut me off. Don't let me continue talking.
That's it for today, folks.
Thanks so much for tuning in.
And as always, please support this work by subscribing and donating to our cause at www.teamgetoveryit.com.
Donors get access to specific content like stickers, t-shirts, and postcards from our journey.
You can donate for as little as $5 and the benefits build from there.
Go to our website for more information.
Or find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Team Get Over It.
Thanks for listening.
And catch us next time on Get Over It.